goes. Well, good evening, everybody. Martin Cordner here on the Facebook page, Martin Cordner Music. At least I think that's what it's called. If you're seeing this in your newsfeed, I'm just going to give you a wave so that you can click on it and come and watch this stream with me and with my special guest, Kevin Larsson. Now, Kevin is, as I'm sure many of you will know, resident in the United States. He's been there for the last 20 odd years, where at the moment he's a divisional music director in the California South Division in the USA Western Territory of the Salvation Army. And he's a soldier with his family. He's a soldier and with his family he worships, I should say, at Torrance Corps. And that's his lovely wife, Jackie, and their two boys, Ethan and Aidan. So, Kev,
yes,
we have known each other for such a long time. What a joy it is to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, really, really well. Obviously, kind of as a crazy year, as everyone has experienced this. But in the whole grand scheme of things, we're doing great, and it's really good to see you again. We just
thank you.
It's been years. I mean, we were extremely close. Kind of back in the day, we're hanging out all the time, but it's probably been over 20 years since we've.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll have to try and remember where we first met. But what I was going to say was, despite the fact that we hung around together, we turned out okay, each of us, didn't we?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very surprising. Yes, absolutely.
But Kev, our time of being friends together goes all the way back to Bromley Temple Corps, and I'm going to pitch that around the early 1990s. Disagree with me if you.
Yeah, it must have been about that. You were at Penge as well, weren't you? So
yeah, so I worshipped at Penge Corps. And I had a brief flirtation with Bromley Temple Corps, and it was nothing to do with a girl, which may surprise some people. But I basically had quite a few friends at Bromley. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
You were one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it would have been early 90s. So we're nearly 30 years ago now.
Yeah, and there was that IHQ connection as well, or DHQ connection. Yeah, because
we worked in the building.
Yeah, I was at Reliance Bank, and then we often. So I think that's where it is. It was with Phil Austin as well, and then we used to get the train home together, and then you would just jump off at Penge, and then we'd carry on down to Bromley, which is on the same line. Yeah,
I see. So actually, I'm putting the cart before the horse. Probably I'd met you on the building, and then because I knew you were at Bromley, and I had a few other friends there. I came along. Yeah.
And there would have been a few South London events, all sorts of things, youth councils, and different music schools probably as well. But Bromley Temple and Penge always had that kind of rivalry going. I remember some pretty wicked pillar fights happening at music camp with some extra articles being added to the pillowcases. So
seriously,
not by us, by the Penge lot. That's what I'm just saying.
No. Well, I was just going to say I wasn't sure there was any rivalry at all because we knew that you were a poorer cousin. That was just the bottom line. But anyway, Kev, I've got my mobile phone here because what I want to say to everybody who's watching is, first of all, good evening if you're here in Europe. Good afternoon if you're way back in time where Kevin is on the West Coast. And good day if you're somewhere in the rest of the United States. And if you're in Asia, well, we trust you're enjoying your sleep at the moment. But we're glad to have you on this stream. And what we want to do is for Kevin and I to talk, but we'd love to hear from you. That's basically been the format of these live chats over the last few months since I've been doing them. July was the first one. And we would love to hear from you. So do say hi in the comments so we can give you a shout out. Or if there's something you wanted to know from Kevin, or even me, then fire us a question if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Right, Kevin. So let's just talk. You were just mentioning about lockdown there a few minutes ago. We've just come out of a lockdown in the UK. You're just going back into one. How does that affect your daily life as a family?
Yeah, well, it affected quite a lot. The first lockdown, I mean, that was it was a huge lockdown for the schools weren't open and all this kind of stuff. I was still an essential worker with the Salvation Army, so I was out and about, and my job transitioned from the music just to kind of ensure that the Corps had everything they needed for live Sunday worship services, streaming, those kind of things. So that was kind of essential duty, certainly in my mind, to make sure that the Corps could still be open and sharing the word of God that way. This time it's going to be just a little bit different when we enter this lockdown. The schools are still open, so my boys go for a couple of days a week, but everything else is going to be, pretty tightly shut. I think some of the shops may be staying open with 20% capacity and stuff like that, and they're fortunately letting centers of worship staying open on Sundays, from what I understand. It's supposed to start tonight around midnight, so we'll just have to see how that plays into to work. But I have a feeling that all kettles, which is a huge part of the Salvation Army ministry here in the States, in our division, are going to be cancelled starting tomorrow. I haven't heard that word officially, but I think
Right.
that's going to be.
Wow. That's
And
a
that was a
big deal,
lot.
isn't it? It's got to be the main
It is.
fundraising drive of the year, hasn't it? The kettle drive.
Yeah, not so much anymore. But it is the time that we're most visible.
Right.
So the amount of work that goes into the kettles, and the actual money that we get back from them it's some people would say it's probably not worth it these days, especially because California minimum wage is so high, so if you have to
Right.
hire some of the kettle workers and stuff like that. But it is our chance to be very visible on the
Okay.
streets. So if
Yeah.
every corps has, 30 or 40, spots, and there's 40 corps, that's quite a few people that get to see the army in that way. So that, I
Sure.
think, for me, is probably more the PR thing rather than the kind of the financial, although it will be a financial hit for sure.
Yeah, it's a big deal anyway. So, well,
Yeah,
we need to keep you all in prayer by the sounds of it,
yeah,
because,
yeah.
we kind of look at Christmas caroling over here as it's important financially, but moreover, it is a profile thing, I think, in the UK as
Exactly.
well. And that whole message of hope, and especially with the rotten year that everybody's had. We went out on Saturdays. We had six bandsmen, or two shifts of six bandsmen,
Hmm.
and we did it within all the regulations, and went up, over and beyond. But our primary driver really was that, because everyone had a rotten year, we wanted to bring something good,
Yeah.
and or some people call it Christmas cheer. If you're religious, you might call it blessings, but we wanted to bring something positive, basically.
Yeah,
Um,
and from the kettles, I've heard some of the comeback from people, and then that's the message that we're getting the general public giving us as well. Just say thank you so much, and it is a chance for the public to say thank you as well for what the Salvation Army does day in and day out as well,
yeah,
which is a
yeah,
huge thing. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So, I'm not surprised to hear, Kevin, with your role, it has had an online focus. Um,
Yeah,
in the last few months. That's been replicated everywhere, hasn't it? I was talking
it
to
has.
Ken Waterworth a few weeks ago, and his department, which was newly formed actually, just
Yeah.
as the worldwide lockdown all sort of came in, that was exactly the same for him. So it kind of brings new challenges, doesn't it, for guys like you? Tell us about, when life is real, and when all of this has gone away, what do you actually do? What does the work of a divisional music director entail?
So my primary function is to make, well, it's all about the core. So my primary function is to make sure that the core have everything they need, to be kind of successful on their Sunday worship at the core. So that could be teaching, um, teaching music, and just kind of making sure that the resources they have are available and all this kind of stuff, and just trying to aim for that level of excellence across the division that which is, I think, is just so important. And we're very fortunate that this division is a very kind of a music division. It always has been. Southern California, and kind of with Chris Mallett, the predecessor, he really did put the division on a great track. So all our corps do have live music, which is certainly not the
Right.
case across the country. So my role is maybe just a little bit different to some of the DMDs, and it's just kind of resourcing all of those. But my department is much smaller than it used to be as well. So it's more challenging now, because there's just, in this kind of supporting the core, it's really just me now,
Right.
and I just can't just keep on visiting kind of every single core and
Mm.
teaching the kids here and teaching kids there. So we're already looking at online stuff and just other ways that we can kind of really support the core that way. So that's the primary function. And then, of course, you get some special events,
Yeah.
which could be music camps that we run, and kind of all the different divisional groups that we have. And I do have a guy now working for me that we're looking to use music, going out to all the different social service centers, and then trying to bring, some of the clients that way into the kind of the fellowship of the core. And so using music there. So that's good. And then we have like huge events like the Rose Parade as well, which we're in charge of and stuff, which you've been a part of course.
Yeah, yeah. At
Yeah,
least once. We were talking just before we came on air about the trip Regent Hall Band took at the
that's
end
right.
of well, end of '98 into '99. Every band trip I make to your part of the world, Kevin, I put on about a stone. I don't know whether I'm unique in that, but it's because the sort of the done thing was to put visiting bands into hotels and then feed them at all-you-can-eat buffets. That was my
I know.
memory of it.
Exactly. And then, of course, you get the In-N-Out burger, which is kind of very famous out of these
All
parts
right.
of the world. And then when you finish the parade, you always get a couple of those. And then anytime you do anything with a Rose Parade, so it could be
Yeah.
Band Fest, although I don't know if you did Band Fest there, but they give you all these, just these endless kind of burgers and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I remember that trip as well. You were writing a march. Do you remember that? You were just
Uh,
every time,
yeah.
in the bus, you were just, and then I was, you gave all the score out to loads of people, all trying to write out the parts. And
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah, it was good fun.
It was good fun. It's one of those matches that's never going to see the light of day, Kev, simply
No,
because The Simpsons were very popular at that
exactly.
time over
That's right.
here, and it had about 8 bars of The Simpsons theme in it.
Yes,
So for copyright reasons alone, I don't think it's going to see the light of day. But yeah, that was great fun, and we had people like Paul Sharman and Lisa Hooper. She was then.
yeah,
Are you guys, if you're around, if you're watching, they were all writing the parts, weren't they?
yeah,
That was really really
yeah,
amazing. Oh yeah, and the whole band had to shout "Don't."
yeah. That's
One
right.
particular part of the piece. It sounds like a deeply spiritual piece, doesn't it, everybody? I'm
Yeah,
sure you're suitably inspired. So yeah, Kev, the Rose Bowl operation is a significant
huge.
enterprise, isn't it?
It
So
is.
and for many years, a lot of us will remember that Bill Flynn was
Hmm.
the head of it, or deeply involved with it. Well,
Yeah.
how does the um, how does your role sort of come into that? Are you leading the Salvation Army's input into that event? Is that what it is?
Yes. Yeah. So for years it was Jackie and myself doing that together. So I was, kind of more like the musical director of the whole thing, but and then
Right.
Jackie was doing the whole kind of the logistics behind that. So it's not. It used to be just a guest band like Regent Hall, which you came
Mm.
with, and then the local groups. But then in 2000. Just because it was going to be such a year with the millennium and all this kind of stuff, the DC there thought it'd be a great idea to invite two young people from every division across the USA and
Mm.
Canada.
Mm.
And we probably had 80, 85 on that first one in 2000. And the tradition has then continued since then. So we invite every year all these musicians, and that's been terrific. Because in all honesty, I don't think we'd be able to put it together if it was just us and the guest band these days,
Right.
unfortunately. So
Right.
having that input is just a huge, huge deal. And then a couple of years ago, we had our 100th year anniversary with the first music group to reach 100 years marching. And we managed to get youth bands from 8 different territories across. Well, it's either their territory youth bands or their music school A bands, plus representatives from every continent. So I was keen to have it the true worldwide band. I was even looking to see if there's any part of Antarctica that was part of Chile, so that I could. But it turns out, yeah, there was no musicians down there. So it was every continent, and we probably had about 400 marching, which is
Wow.
huge. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
great time. But yeah, so that process really starts around about March every year.
Right.
That's when all the invitations go out
Mm.
and all this kind of stuff. And then when it hits September, I mean, that could honestly be someone's full-time job almost, just getting that thing organized. And this
Yeah.
year it was supposed to be Bromley Temple. They were going to be coming out, and
Right.
but because the pandemic, that all got squashed. And then the actual Rose Parade, they've cancelled that themselves. So they're doing just a special live TV thing, and there's going to be some Salvation Army involvement in that as well.
All right. Cool. Good.
Yeah,
We don't get it broadcast over here, obviously, but I think we try and catch bits online. I think it ends up on
yeah,
YouTube or something, doesn't it? Maybe it's a pirate copy. I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah, I'm sure we'll catch it. Let's hope it's
yeah,
going to be good.
yeah.
But Kev, something else. And by the way, please, everyone watching, say hi in the comments or leave us a question. One or two of you have left a comment. Thank you for that. We'll get to those in just a second. Something else that you do get involved with, Kev, and I'm going to share my screen here,
Hmm.
is on YouTube recently there was a video. So let me just see if I can get my screen. Are you seeing YouTube here, Kev?
I am.
Good. Now I need to click another button, which is um, share my audio. So just one second. Oh my goodness, there are so many
That's done at the
buttons, aren't
same
there?
time. Well, it's generally done at the same time when you share your screen. There's a little, so you might have to
Thank
go
you.
out there again.
Thank you for helping me. Yeah, I'm looking across
But
the top of the screen, and there's something like share computer sound. Got it. Right.
you got it
So
right.
this is I saw this just a couple of days ago, Kev. Let's play a few minutes.
Sure.
Got some sound?
Yep.
This week I was sharing with my
Oh,
kids
there's
about
Captain
God's
Justin
mega
Doherty.
plan for his
Thank you,
creation.
Justin.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
The
get you
conversation
on the
started
piano,
when I shared
Kev,
a video with
Sure.
my
because
7-year-old daughter
you're
and
quite good
10-year-old
on the
son
piano.
about how
You've been improving,
science...
I've noticed. Let's here you go. Here we are.
The angels sing with rapturous song. The night has passed and now a light has come. The riches of our God to men belong. Descending in humility, his glory stripped and changed for poverty, that we may see his love and beauty. And together we will praise and dwell in the glory of our God, Emmanuel.
Hey, right then, everybody. So that's a really fabulous video, which, as you can see, has been uploaded to the Salvation Army Songbook devotional series. Kevin, I want to say that was your baby, wasn't it? I think the
Yep.
Songbook series.
It was. Yeah, I started
Yep.
that about 2 or 3 years ago,
Mm.
and it was just when was it? It was probably just before Christmas a few years ago. Even though the first one was Lent, I was
Yeah.
singing through one of the songs on Sunday morning, and it was just quite a complicated set of lyrics on there, and I actually just had to stop singing and just look at those lyrics and just try to work out what the author was just trying to say. And it took me quite a while just to kind of really trying to get to grasp kind of the meaning, what he was basically just trying to say. So then that's what gave me the idea of, we just need some devotionals that really kind of break down what that, because we have a songbook companion, but that's all about kind of the history of the song and, about the writers and stuff, but it never really delves into the actual kind of the theology behind these words. So then I had this idea, and I thought, well, we'll just do 40 days of Lent, and it started off with basically I just chose 40 songs, and I wrote out to 8 different people to write some devotions, and kind of they all just said yes, and they wrote back, and then I read these on screen, and then we had a performance of that song, and it was just a huge success. We very quickly went up to about 12,000 subscribers on that, and then since then we've done a couple of Lent series and a couple of Advent series, and then here we are. So this year was a little bit different because after doing 2 Advent series, I kind of ran out of all the really good public domain carols. Okay. So I was, even last year, I was just kind of, scratching around trying to find any, because I can't break any copyright rules and stuff, because there's no kind of money involved in this thing. So then this year I thought, well, why don't we just get some new ones? So what you're seeing there on the video is 7 different territories that are all submitting. It's actually 8 territories that are submitting some songs, and they provide the devotionals now, and they're all brand new songs, often based on a carol. So you would hear some references to Heart the Herald Angels Sing, and the one there. And some have chosen to do kind of straight arrangements of those, but some of them have just got completely new songs, and all the chord charts and lead sheets are all available for download. So it's just a great way to get 25 new songs that everyone can use the videos for, but they can also actually then use these songs in their worship sets.
Yeah. Oh, you know what, Kev? I mean, now that everybody's worshipping online, we're probably 98% of the Salvation Army world is either watching online stuff or creating it.
Right.
I've found that even from a creating content end of things, they've
Mm-hmm.
been invaluable. We've used them a few times. We used not Hail Thou Once Despised Jesus, that's the Easter, the tune High for Doll, but the Sweet
Right.
Chumming Bells song.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it's called. So we used that recently.
Come thou long expected Jesus.
That's it. Come thou long expected Jesus. Thank you. And it was just really fabulous to just have that online already. That we could tap into. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And it's been successful in terms of its reach. But I think you're right. It was just filling a niche really. Some explanation into the theology, the background, maybe a little bit of why it was written, but what the author was trying to say, right? So
well, yeah. And the other niche it's filling this year is that the Salvation Army is so good at publishing for brass band and choral and stuff, but when it comes to actually the worship teams, it doesn't do so well. So we have the Hallelujah choruses, which is something a little bit different. So that's using existing songs, and they can put some nice arrangements to it. But really, there's no, that I know of anyway, no territory that are consistently sending out new contemporary, if that's what you want to call it, worship
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
And I really hope that this is going to be the start of that. And all the territories who are involved seem to be extremely keen,
Mm.
seem to be very valuable. And this is just giving a platform for some of these writers just to be able to kind of get out there and express themselves in this way. And I really hope this is going to be the start of something. It's obviously the Salvation Army put so much time and emphasis in band and choral, which it needs to stay. It needs to carry on. But we need to do that as well for for some of our young writers as well coming through. So
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of the
Well,
more the merrier, I say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that sounds great, Kevin. And that was such a catchy song. If you
Oh,
don't mind
thank
me
you.
saying, with this sort of soft focus look and everything,
Yeah,
it was a slightly cheesy. It's got that kind of a look about it.
I know.
But it's an earworm song. Du, du, du,
Right.
du, du,
Yeah,
that sort of rhythm is
sure.
just as soon as you hear it, it's going to stay with you. So that's the key to a great song, actually. So
Right.
I'm trying to pay you a compliment there. I'm probably
I
not doing very
appreciate.
well.
No, it's all right. I get it. No, it's all good. Yeah, I had to. It was my own insecurities right there because I'm not really kind of a performer. Certainly not a vocal one. When it comes to
Right.
that. So I was certainly nervous about it, and that's a whole THQ thing. So they're using that song for a big Christmas thing that we're going to be putting on the 20th of December. So
Okay.
there's 3 songs we did, and they're with their fabulous multimedia department that they have. They came in, and they put all that together. But it was certainly a kind of a nerve-wracking kind of
Yeah.
thing for
Yeah.
me to do
Yeah.
it as well. But I'm very pleased with the
Yeah,
result. So
yeah, you should be.
that was yeah.
It's a high quality video, and the song. Is it your song, Kev?
It is, yeah. So
Yeah,
Justin
very good.
Doherty, he was the previous corps officer of Torrance,
Yeah.
an Englishman. He was going through the Regent Hall Corps
All right.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
An amazing story there, and he was a corps officer, so we got on really really well. And he's
Yeah.
he's so good with words. So
Right.
we just kind of wrote that together, and yeah, it was
Nice,
really
nice.
good.
Well,
Yeah,
go check it out, everybody. The Salvation Army devotional songbook series. Let's get to some comments now, Kev.
sure.
Thank you, everyone, for leaving some remarks for us. Diane Barker. Hi, Diane. Thank you for watching. She says, hi, Martin and Kevin. Kevin, how did your dad like your arrangement of They Shall Come from the East? I had the
Yeah.
privilege of going to both Penge and Bromley. That's right, Diane was a Penge girl when I was there. So thanks for the question, Diane. So what is your dad's take on your take of his song?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because there's, Dad. I've heard sometimes just kind of rumors that Dad really doesn't like people doing arrangements of his music, and that's just not true at all. He loves
Right.
it. So anytime that his tunes get a new lease of life and stuff, he's all over it. He thinks it's great. Saying that, there's a couple of tunes that were just kind of like the untouchables. He just doesn't like people to kind of disturb him too much. Someone Cares is one of those, and the other one is They Should Come from the East.
Right.
And the reason They Should Come from the East is kind of so special to him that way is, I don't know if you ever heard him say the story, but he got the words from John Gowans, and all he was doing was playing an accompaniment just to try and get the feel for the words. So he
Right.
played it through once, just this accompaniment, and all of a sudden he realized playing it through once that the melody was already there. So he really feels that it was just complete divine inspiration and God had given him that tune. So that's why he doesn't really like kind of people messing with that one. So my good friend Nick Simmons Smith, who was the territorial music secretary down in the South, he called me up, and they were doing some big international kind of celebration, some congress, I think it was, and he requested a jungle version of They Should Come from the East. So that was his exact words, jungle version. And I was thinking, oh man, Dad's not going to go for this one. He's not going to be happy about this. So I'd worked on it, and it took me a long time, not to write the piece necessarily, but just to try and get into the right feel of it. I tried all sorts of things and it just wasn't working. And then all of a sudden something kind of worked, which is kind of the augmented tune over kind of the rhythmic stuff. And then I thought, well, this is the time maybe to go and speak to Dad about this one. And, so I said, Dad, I know you don't like people messing with it too much, but, this is a good opportunity for me. Would you mind? And I could tell that he was, oh, okay, sure. But he was never, ever going to say no, just because that's who he is. He was not going to say no. And I wrote it, and he absolutely loves it. So he thinks
Fantastic.
it's
Yeah.
so it is. But I was nervous about it, that's for sure. But yeah. No,
Well, it's one of those pieces, Kev, that, well, you've written a number of really engaging pieces, is that the right word? That's one of them, and it's been very popular. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth to play, isn't it? By the time you get to the
It
sixth
is.
or the fifth presentation of the tune or whatever, and it's 5-6 minutes long, and it's the kind of piece that grows and grows and grows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a real test of stamina for bands.
Well, and it was interesting. The first time I played it was when we had to do that thing for the ISB, when all the different staff bands played it, and
Oh,
we
yeah,
all sent
yeah.
our recordings. So I was playing it in this very room that I'm in right now, just playing it. That was the first time I've ever played the thing.
All right.
On trombone. I've helped out a band once before, but yeah, by the end of it, and especially because I haven't played that much, I was done. I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
board for auto tune when I sent that thing in, because I was dipping below what should be an acceptable,
Sure.
tuning.
No, but it's a great piece, and so
thank you.
congratulations for that. And actually, at Cambridge, just to give our core a plug, we've been doing a series of taking pieces of music written by composers such as yourself, Kevin, and we've been coming up with new video presentations to them.
Nice.
It's something that our bandmaster had an idea for when lockdown started, as a way of keeping our band together, and all of that. Bands everywhere have done the same thing, and They Shall Come to the East. In our statistics, consistently gets great views. It's probably has the highest amount of views out of all the ones we've done. So I think that's partly to do with the video content, but partly to do with the appeal of the piece. So thank you for that. Hey, one or two more comments, Kev.
Sure.
Tom Grimshaw, hi Tom. Tom's at Norwich Citadel Corps over here. He says, agree with you about the food. Oh, must be about coming to the States and eating.
Must be.
When I was at the Rose Bowl in 1819, I came back significantly heavier. Well done, Tom. We hope they didn't charge you extra on the flight. Thank you for the question. Paul Doswell, hi Paul. He says, hi Kevin. A couple of years ago, I visited the Corps in, now I'm going to butcher this name, Nässjö, Sweden, Nassjo, it looks like. And I was told your family has connections there.
Quite possibly. I mean, obviously that's where Dad's from. He's Swedish, and there's still cousins and second cousins and all sorts over there. It's not a side of the family that I know that well. I know that we did a big vacation over there in the 90s, I guess. Must have been, yeah, or maybe kind of late 80s, and we met some of these cousins and second cousins, but really obviously my parents stay in contact, but I don't really unfortunately know that side of the family, which is a shame.
Right. Yeah,
I'm definitely Swedish. I did one of those ancestry things, have you seen those? Yeah, and my DNA is like 70% Swedish or something like that. So that's really kind of where I'm from. But I don't really know much about it, unfortunately.
And of course, your second or third cousin Henrik played for the Swedish national team in soccer for many years. So
exactly, and Seb as well.
So, yeah, that's right. So it's obviously a very common Swedish name, I guess. Son of Lars.
Well, that's how they called him. For generations and generations, that's how it was done, So yeah, and you can always tell by the amount of S's and if it's EN for which country. So I think Norwegian is one S, Swedish is two S, and Danish has the EN at the end. It's something like that. I could be wrong. I'm sure I'll be corrected by some people with that one.
Well, we've got some very bright people who probably know about these things watching. So tell us if you know about that kind of a thing. Andy Cracknell, hi Andy, thanks for watching. He says the videos have been great for content of online worship, so that must be the devotional series we're talking about. Malcolm Quinn, you know Malcolm, don't you?
Yeah.
Hi Malcolm. Brilliant, creative and engaging work, you guys. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, thank you, Malcolm. Definitely 2020 vision for the future of music. Right, great, yeah. Thank you for that, Malcolm. And I think we may have got there. Oh, Philip McCann. Hi, Philip, the legend that is Phil McCann. He says, I love playing Someone Cares. Now, that was an RSA arrangement, wasn't it, of your dad's song? Again, that's been extremely popular, and a lovely melody with those sort of seventh intervals. Do you know what I mean? It reaches up. Someone cares, or sixths, I should say. But
six,
but it's a very appealing song. Have you ever done anything with Someone Cares?
I haven't. No, it's just because it's already done so beautifully.
Right. Yeah.
You don't need to kind of replicate that kind of stuff. And of course, Ray Stemmen had he was, I guess, on the editorial at the time, so he was the one that did all those arrangements of
Right.
all the musicals. I think it stopped, for the last couple. I don't think we had any of those done. Some of them because they were published in the States, so it was a little bit different with SBS there and stuff. But
Right.
obviously, Ray Stedman Allen had a huge kind of impact of getting that music out to the brass band world, and Southern Cares is certainly one of those.
Yeah.
Beautiful tune. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is a beautiful tune, definitely. And last comment here for now from Stephen Pavey. Hi, Stephen. He says, "They Shall Come" is reachable to so many audiences, the band enthusiasts and the casual supporters. Thanks for that comment, Steve. Now, that's an interesting point, Kev. When you're writing a piece of music, how much of the balance is going towards creating a piece of music that's good and will be good to play, and how much is about the punter end of things, the people who'll be on the receiving end of that music? How do you approach that when you're writing your music?
Yeah, it's. I guess it's got to be somewhere in the middle there. I'm always trying to think when I'm writing a piece of music, what's going to make this one a little bit distinct? What's this one going to be? Just something a little bit different about this one. And of course, it's the whole They Should Come From the East is the African thing. But then sometimes that's why I do a lot of the razzmatazzy kind of stuff or some of the Latin kind of things. I'm always just kind of thinking of something a little bit different, and that's more kind of for the listener. So when they hear something, it's just oh, that's new. I like that kind of thing. But then I'm also looking kind of for the players to make it kind of again interesting, just because and there's always, I try and every kind of little part have some kind of interest. So when I'm looking at kind of the score, I'm just looking for those moments of interest that are going to kind of people engage, both kind of playing and listening. But for sure, it's all about kind of the message at the end of the day, just kind of what people are kind of hearing and what they can, take away from that piece of music.
Yeah. And I guess really that's in the DNA of Salvation Army brass music, isn't it? That it's message driven. And as I've said many times before, we'd be out of a job if it wasn't for the songwriters. Now, you're a songwriter as well, Kevin. So, but without songwriters, Salvation Army brass composers wouldn't have anything to do, really, anything to write, because
we're arrangers, really, aren't we? That's
exactly. I like to think we sometimes touch on composition. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But for by and large, it's kind of arranging. You're correct. So, Kev, let's have some fun for a minute. Let's talk about the years gone by, because folks watching might be really interested to hear some things about Kevin Larsson they've never heard before, and or even myself. But we were just remembering, weren't we, reminiscing that we probably met in the early 90s, somewhere around that time. We went to music camp. Canterbury Division Canterbury Division doesn't exist now. But up till 1996 it did, and I think you came to the Canterbury Divisional Music Camp once. That's my memory.
Yeah, and it was a real kind of a last minute thing, because I was heading to university,
right?
And my parents had already left for New Zealand by that point, so I had just a couple of months really before I was moving up to Colchester full time. So I wasn't just going up there for a term of college; it was packing all my belongings, and that's where I was moving to. And I had these couple of months just, after I went to the territorial music camp and stuff, and I was just kind of pottering around, I could stay with family here and there. So I was looking for anything to do. And then this opportunity came up of Canterbury Music Camp. And now I'm so glad I did it, because that was so much fun. That was just a terrific...
Do you know what? Well, there were some real influential people on the team at that, I may say, was probably quite a small music camp. There would have been 80 kids, something like that, I guess.
Okay.
But if you think about who was on the staff, I mean, there was yourself, there was Paul Sharman on the staff at that school.
I was a student.
I know. Were you a student?
Yeah.
Oh, bless you, Kev. Maybe I was a student at the same time. I can't remember, but we're about the same age, aren't we? I should think.
Wasn't there six of us? There was like 6 of us in that room. I remember that kind of thing.
I don't remember us being in a room. Were we all in the same room?
It was like 6 of us. Yeah. And it was, unless I'm getting confused by which camp, but I remember, it was just a terrific camp. Yeah, with some great staff. And was that the one Andrew Blythe was there?
Yeah, Andrew Blythe was there, and also we had Steve Cobb for 2 or 3 years doing the band. Richard Phillips was there one time as well.
Oh, you know what? The stories are always starting to come back now.
Yeah.
I just need to...
This room with 6, we must mention, Kevin, our esteemed, marvellous good friend Duncan Sutton.
Yep, absolutely.
Who's out in your part of the world at Pasadena, I think.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, he's not going to the army these days.
Oh, right, okay,
No,
okay,
but
yeah,
he's still, we still see him all the time,
yeah,
and yeah, he's
yeah.
still a very, very good friend of ours and stuff. Might even potentially be seeing him this afternoon. So
Fantastic.
yeah, so
But
that yeah,
he
he's
would have been in that room, I'm
he
sure.
would. And the
Uh,
names that are coming back to me right now with Kevin Miles.
yeah,
I
Kevin
want to say
Larsson.
Kevin Miles, Brad Turnbull.
Yeah, yeah, very
I think
possibly.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, a bunch of hooligans, really, when you think
yeah.
about it.
Oh no, but it was great. I
Uh,
remember. I don't know how much of these stories I should be saying online, so I have to just kind of just be careful here. But no, I remember. No, we have to be careful of some of those music camp days. All in very good fun, and it was all part of our growing up experience, wasn't it?
yeah, and if we've got anything in our defence, we were very young and naive and a bit stupid sometimes, weren't we? But
That's
we
right.
used to muck around like all the other
Oh,
kids today do.
that's right.
But
Remember the fire alarms going off? Do you remember that?
yeah, well, what music camp do the fire alarms not go off? You
That's
know, that's
true. I know.
basically standard.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, they probably did. I remember
yeah.
playing the fanfare from Robin Hood at the stairwell of the girls' dorm at 3 in the morning one time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've
That's
been
cool.
told off by everybody from Kevin Ashman,
Well, I've been told
to
off by Kevin Ashman as well.
oh, have you? We've
Oh,
got
yeah,
that in
yeah.
common, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
What a great guy Kevin is,
Oh,
but
yes. Absolutely.
he was the
He was a sergeant.
he,
He
he
had
was a
to.
sergeant. That's right. So he was responsible for discipline.
That's right.
And yeah, what a great player Kevin is as well.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyway,
Terrific.
that's another story. So how
That is.
privileged we were to be in and around those sort of
Oh, brilliant.
luminaries, really.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I always think music camps are just so key in the lives of young people because they're the poles on the washing line that prop up your faith
Oh, yeah.
journey. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
just
yeah.
when you get into a bit of a dip, you go into this environment
That's it.
with like-minded people and inspirational musicians and great Bible groups as well. You know, where you
Yeah.
feel that you can ask questions you might not ask at home and all that kind of thing, and you grow so much.
Yeah, and I even remember at Canterbury, we were kind of obviously messing around and getting up to all sorts of things. But I also remember certainly the spiritual side of that, and some of the Bible studies, and me absolutely just kind of breaking down emotionally in tears over certain
Right.
things on that camp. And it
Mm.
was, yeah, a very kind of special experience. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
yeah.
let me tell everyone this story about your dad and how embarrassed I was in front of your dad one time because just explain to everybody when Kev and I were in our late teens. Kev's mum and dad were the territorial leaders here in the UK and for the UK and Ireland territory, and that was living in Bromley and I was at a place called West Wickham, sort of 2-3 miles away from Bromley, and I was living at home, you were living at home, and I bought a really fantastic car one time. I thought it was a fantastic
Yeah.
car. It was a Ford Orion Gear, and it basically was a sporty version of this particular model of car. And I got it for a bargain price. It was very, very fast, a bit too fast
Well, it
than I
was
could handle, I should think.
a 1.6 injection, wasn't it?
It was a
Yeah.
1.6 injection, extremely lively,
Sure.
and but it would just keep on breaking down all the time. And I eventually discovered that instead of this being one fabulous sporty car, it actually was two cars that had been welded into one. So what we call here in the UK a cut and shut car, extremely dangerous, very illegal. And anyway, one particular Saturday afternoon, I was driving around the Fairfield Halls roundabout in Croydon, which is this absolutely massive system of roads. And when you're on it, from memory, there must have been 4, 5, maybe 6 lanes of traffic, and you all kind of come around this roundabout together, and people are coming off and joining.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my car decided to break down in the middle of this roundabout. And before the days of mobile phones, Kev, so I take myself to a payphone. And who do I ring? My friend Kev. Kev, I've broken down on the Fairfield Horse roundabout. Can you come and give me a tow? To which you said, of course. And you turned up within the hour. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
With Commissioner John Larsson, the territorial commander of the United
That's
Kingdom
right.
and Ireland Territory, and you both of you gave me a tow, and I was just so embarrassed because it wasn't just I didn't just have the humility of having to ask somebody to come and tow me. but the guy who picked me up was the TC, and I don't think I'll ever live that down. I did bump into your dad recently at the ICO. I'm sure I must have thanked him for that, for getting me out of a scrape. But thank you for bringing your dad. He wasn't in his uniform. I was very disappointed with that.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the commissioner's
To
trimming.
be fair to him, I didn't ask. So obviously I had to ask to borrow the car because I didn't own a car at the time. So that's where this came from. So I just and just being a good dad, he said, "Oh no, let me, like he's had to tow cars in the past. I'll be able to do that." So he was more than happy to come along. So it was a pure voluntary thing that he did. It wasn't me trying to persuade him and stuff. And and I think you were the only embarrassed one about the whole situation.
Possibly, yeah. But imagine my cut and shut car being towed by the Territorial Commander's car as well. I mean,
that's right.
That wouldn't look good on the front of the Salvation Army newspaper.
I own Orion as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You had a Ford Orion, but
did.
One that was a genuine car.
It was genuine, and it was white as well. And we always remember this. We used to have quite a lot of fun after an open air, just putting our Salvation Army cap on the dashboard, and we'd drive around that thing, and everyone thought we were in a police car. So so people would kind of be messing around, they see us, and then they'll kind of stop. Yeah, we had good times in that car.
I know. But we also, we're going to get some more comments in a minute, everybody. If you haven't said hi, do say hi in the comments. Ask us a question. I'm going to get to those in just a sec. When we were in our late teens, Kev, we had this fascination with 4-track recording, or somebody somewhere gave us a 4-track machine. I don't know whether we borrowed it from THQ. I'm not sure. Andrew Blythe had one at one time. It ran with a cassette tape.
I'm wondering, was it Duncan's?
Could well have been, yeah. But anyway,
I'm not sure.
We went to a church in Bromley where we had access, and it was a church where, because the core building was being refurbished at that time, we were having band practice there, weren't we? So we went down this church hall, and we set up in band formation, and I would start on soprano cornet and work my way down the cornet section, and you would sit on the euphonium section and then work your way back onto the trombones. And so between 4 or 5 of us, we covered a whole piece of music, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Can you remember what pieces we covered?
We didn't start small. We didn't start with like Penned Young People or anything. We decided to go full festival series. I do remember doing The Chief Musician.
Yeah, we did, with alternative lyrics.
Yeah, and so it was all stuff like that. I'm sure we would have done Praise and Celebration and all this. We were just kind of young guys. Just, I'm sure Light Walk. That was probably quite
Light Walk, and also I remember we did Just Like John as well, which was actually pretty good. But because you had to take the trombone solo, and I think we had Brad Turnbull on euphonium at that time.
Yeah.
So between you and Brad, you were covering euphoniums, baritones, and trombones, probably.
Yeah, I think I did all trombone. So I would do a couple of first, second, and then the bass, and then Brad would have done. So we did make like a full band, So he would have done 2 euphonium parts and a first and second baritone. And I'm sure they had 2 cornet players.
Yeah.
Is that when we were talking about Carl Foster maybe there as well?
Yeah, Carl Foster came to certainly one of them, and we also had Richard Hill, who's Enfield Corps, and Richard brought his brother one time. And who else was I going to suggest we had?
I'm sure Duncan, maybe he was the other cornet player actually. So maybe that's rather than Carl. So maybe it was you and Dunks doing the cornet thing.
Carl was there, but we also had Duncan, and also we had Simon Turner.
Oh, you did a couple, didn't you?
Because we needed a tuba player.
That's right.
So we had Simon as well, and I've still got those recordings somewhere, Kev. I'm going to have to dig them out because it actually turned out pretty good for what was basically on a cassette tape.
But do you ever find that you think back through rose-tinted glasses and you think, oh man, they sounded great. And if you listen to them now, you're going to go, oh my gosh, that was just terrible. I wonder. I don't know. I haven't heard them.
You could be right. You could be right. But I listened to them. I certainly remember actually taking them into THQ where we worked to the music department and letting all those guys have a listen. And they didn't laugh while I was there. They may have laughed when I walked out the room, but they were quite complimentary, I seem to remember. But it was good, and it was, again, a great way to appreciate Salvation Army brass band music. And we laughed quite a lot, obviously, because of the mistakes and how it, I don't know what. But
we would do it for hours as well, wouldn't we? I mean, it's not just like just show up for an hour and let's just try and get this done. Yeah. I'm sure that we would have showed up like 6 o'clock and then we just kept on going.
Yeah, that's right, all night long.
Yeah, it was good fun.
And we did we mustn't have had anything else to do, Kev. We weren't married. We didn't have families.
That's right.
We didn't have that much responsibility. You know, let's be honest. So
Yeah.
it was how we filled in our time, and great memories, eh?
Oh, for sure.
Great
Yeah,
memories.
absolutely.
Well, look, Kev, people must be wanting to know about your music writing as well. We've spoken a little bit about a couple of your pieces. Um, I might ask you a couple of questions in a moment about, you know, how you got into composition, stuff like that. Would that be
Sure.
okay? Let's
Yeah,
just
of
see
course.
if we've got one or two more comments coming in. La 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 la. Sebastian Patricio Espinosa
Oh,
Coezada. You
my
know,
friend from Chile. Oh, yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
He's saying, "Wow, what legends! Greetings from Chile, Sebastian. You're a legend as well. Thank you very much for watching." Brian Kench, Brian, good evening, good day to you. You're in Christchurch, New Zealand, so good morning to you. He says, "Great to be able to watch from Christchurch, New Zealand. Absolutely enjoyed Kevin's visit to our core. Must be your turn next, Martin, but of course, welcome back anytime, Kevin. Thanks for everything you do across the Salvation Army world. Inspirational." Thanks, Brian. Do you have what are your memories of going to Christchurch, Kev?
Yeah, it was a fantastic kind of 10 days, maybe, no, more than that, a couple of weeks that we spent in New Zealand. So we were invited to a music camp that they put on over Easter, and just to kind of run the music camp. It was a long weekend, but it was featuring a lot of the kids that have gone through the Just Brass program. Do you know what that is? The Just Brass?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I've heard of that. Yep, yep.
yeah, it's when they go out into all the schools and they teach. So kind of the week before that, we went and visited lots of different corps. So we did kind of a nice kind of trip all through New Zealand, and Christchurch is one of those corps, which is just a stunning corps. Unfortunately, the old building, which I'd also visited before during the earthquake, got condemned, so they had to move out that building. But the building they've moved into now is just stunning. It's a fantastic building, and the corps doing some wonderful things there. And their Just Brass program is going great guns, and we were able to go down there and spend some time with the band, and then it was kind of the next day, I think, that we started the music camp there. But New Zealand is definitely and up there as one of my favorite countries.
Sure.
Absolutely love New Zealand and the people there, and just
yeah. You're just trying to get another invite back, aren't you, Kev?
Of course, yes, absolutely, yeah. No, that stunning place.
The Just Brass program, fantastic. Something I wish we would see a little bit more of here in the UK. It's happened in pockets. But it's built on this model called the El Sistema model, isn't it? I don't know whether you've heard of that. It came from South America in the sort of 70s, 80s, where kids went straight from school into brass after school, and spent 2 hours there, and they didn't just learn brass, all kinds of instruments, but they learnt piano, rhythm, singing. So you cover all the bases in you know the rudimentaries elements of music, if you like. And it results in some fantastic musicians and kids, but it also results in some fantastic engagement with families, because when you do a concert, all the families come to the concert, and it just becomes one massive community of people, which is sensational.
Well, and that's the whole thing, and it needs to be definitely, and that's a big thing, connected to the core. So they go in and teach actually at the school, but unless you've got that core building close enough that all those kids can then go over for the actual junior band practice or whatever it is, then I think you're probably going to struggle a little bit to make those connections. And then you're right, and then it's the the concerts, Mother's Day, Christmas, whatever, all those different kind of ones, and that's how you kind of get that engagement. But I think it was John Collinson, wasn't it? It started it in Australia.
Yeah, that's
and I know
right,
before he became an officer, I think by the time they finished it, he had 3 full bands at his corps or something like that, with just kind of different levels and stuff like that. It's an incredible thing. So when people, when they say kind of maybe the Salvation Army should move away from kind of brass bands, it does scare me, that kind of thing, just because it's so easy to engage so many people through this. And one of the arguments I always have is, well, why is it the school bands keep on doing school bands? It's because it's a very, very good way of teaching. It's a very, very good way of getting so many people engaged into a music program. And kind of that's what we do. And then we have the other side of thing, of course, that it's a great ministry, and then we can kind of use it as the kind of the service as well. So it's a huge thing. And we are looking at maybe kind of doing it here. But it does, as everything, it does cost significant money unless you can find the volunteers to actually go and do it. But it's a lot of time to volunteer, really. So, you know, that's
Yeah.
the challenge.
Yeah, it is. But what's not to like? All of those
Yeah.
pluses. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Malcolm Quinn wonders whether he's watching the Salvation Army's musical Ant and Dec. Thanks for that, Malcolm. Kev's a bit too tall to be an ant or deck, I think. Thank you for that comment. And he also says just brass music making develops a strong sense of community. Add that to worship, and it's great. Yeah, definitely, Malcolm. Hey, Kev, just talk to us for a couple of minutes about how you've come from a musical background. We all know that you were born into a Salvation Army family. You're probably fourth, fifth generation, something like that is my guess.
I think it goes back to the very start. Yeah, I think
yeah, and but what was the nudge that made you put pen to paper the first time? That's what we would like to know, I think.
Yeah, I remember writing a few things in kind of my younger teens and stuff, and just giving it a go and all this kind of stuff. And I was just always interested, and that was just when I started getting into the whole brass band thing, and stuff. And I had a bandmaster that was very willing to let me kind of try some of these things, and some of them didn't work out so well. I didn't write that much actually, and then it really kind of flitted away at that point. I wasn't really particularly keen on doing it, and in fact, I was never really planning to go into music. So when I was doing my O levels and my A levels, they were all aimed to becoming an architect. That's what I really wanted to be.
Right.
I guess it's still a creative thing, but I don't remember kind of the early 90s, maybe kind of the late 80s. There's a huge recession in England, and it was that kind of the architects and all this kind of stuff, they were really struggling. So I made the decision that I'm not going to pursue it. And that's when I went to IHQ, and I was working at Reliance Bank for about kind of a year and a half. And then it was, I just thought, well, maybe kind of this music thing kind of might be fun and stuff like that. But I hadn't really written anything, maybe a song here and there, but kind of nothing much. And then it was when I went to university when I was 20. That's when I started kind of really liking the idea. And then in my second year, that's when I decided to take up composition. And but really for the army, it was kind of much later than that.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of a really kind of a late thing. It's not something like I know that obviously Dad was writing the musicals when I was growing up and all this kind of stuff, but it didn't really, it didn't kind of entice me to go and do the same thing really until I was out here, and I had a couple of opportunities to write, and then I'd do a few little bits and pieces, but they wouldn't kind of go nowhere. It was, and I understand I would send them into editorial, and they would kind of get rejected, and I understand why they did. I'm not saying that, but then it was, and it may be kind of the same for you, but there was just kind of one piece that I wrote that people kind of liked, and then all of a sudden some of the big bands got that kind of wind of that piece, and then all of a sudden it just kind of took off from that point. And but it was kind of a much later thing, kind of at late 20s.
Sure.
Started doing it.
So Kev, that just puts in my mind, I've just had a flashback in time, because you went to Colchester University with Duncan. Isn't that right?
Yeah, he was a year ahead of me. Yeah.
Oh right, he was a year ahead. And was Nick Simmons Smith around that time as well?
He was the same year as me, so we were roommates. Nick and
right, cool. But this is what I'm remembering. You and Duncan, because Michael Clack was on the teaching staff, you came to Chalk Farm band practice, and you invited me one time, and I came and helped them out on a couple of weekends and stuff. So the three of us, and probably Nick as well, I don't know, because I think you had a small ensemble together, a 5-piece or 10-piece or whatever, and we also did do you remember the Sunbury Court Officers' Councils?
I've forgotten about this. You know what, when you talked to me about getting together this way, I was trying to think of some of the stories. How I didn't remember that story, man, that was a frightening. We need to paint the picture. So this is you calling me up and saying, we've been invited, or you've been invited to put a little brass group together. And I want to say it's the North London Divisional Officers Retreat or something.
Yeah, I think Keith Banks might have been the DC. That's something like that. Yeah.
So you said, can you get some players? Let's come down and we'll meet at Sunbury Court, rehearse some of the music, and then we're just going to this concert. I said, no problem. And I got 4 Salvationists, which was, let me just think. So It was a sextet, wasn't it? It must have been, because it was me, Nick, Duncan, but then no, there's four of us, so maybe it was a quintet.
Well,
That's what.
my memory is there was more. I think I was
No,
playing cornet, wasn't I?
you were, but then
Yeah.
we invited this girl Lucy, who's
Right.
nothing to do with the army, but she was just a terrific horn player. So she
Right.
came down. So I want to say there was four of us.
Right.
Now Nick and Duncan might be able to kind of help us out there. But then we got down there 2 hours before the event, and then I remember you saying, "So where's the music?" And I remember looking at you going, "You didn't say anything about music." I said, "You were going to bring the music." And then we're having this discussion 2 hours before we have to put on this full concert in front of all these officers, thinking, what are we going to do? And it turns out from a previous open air, you had all the blue favorites.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And you had one other piece, which I want to say is AIES, American Instrumental Ensemble Series, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we had one piece and then the blue favorites,
Okay.
5 of us. And then we had to go on to this concert. And then they said, you want something to eat? We went, oh, yeah, we'll take that. So then rather than rehearsing anything, we all went out, had this lovely meal before, and then we're getting to the thinking, what on earth are we going to do? And we were very fortunate to have you and Duncan, who are very good at just being able to stand up and just thinking of great comments off the cuff and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And we did a whole evening of favorite marches from the Blue Favorites. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do, but what I'm remembering, Kev, is we didn't actually make it through the program because something happened in one of the pieces where it made us laugh.
Well, what it was, I can even remember what it was, because
was
we
it?
were worried because there was only 5 of us, and some of those marches are so in your face to play.
Yeah.
So we'd all say, no repeats in this one, just no repeats.
Oh,
And sure enough, do you remember? And sure enough, at least one of us would repeat.
okay.
So when it got to it, and then it would all just kind of break down, and that's where you and Duncan kind of really turned this whole thing into a great comedy night.
Okay, yeah.
And they absolutely loved it. And then we had people coming up and conducting us, and then it turned into be a really just chilled out, really fun night. And I want to say we got invited to another corps, didn't we? But we never did it. The invite started coming in because they wanted us to kind of go to that different corps, but not that we ever did it.
So it took on a life of its own. It became something it was never designed to be.
Absolutely not.
All because we forgot the music.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's
when
what
you say forget the music. I mean, I was never asked. I just want to make that absolutely clear to the people. I was never asked for the music, so that's all on you, Martin.
But so we did that night, and what that was just. It was just such good fun. And I do remember officers coming. They were in tears with us because we had broken down in tears with laughter.
That's right.
And coming say, we just so needed that, whether it's ministry is challenging sometimes, isn't it? And that was a night when people could just laugh and enjoy themselves. And
but it's the things you do with the youth. I would never even dream of that right now. So if I was now my age, going down there and I had no music in the quintet, I would have gone in there, made some excuse and said, we just can't do that. But when you're young, let's just do it. Let's have some fun. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, some lessons to be learned there. Flexibility for the sake of the gospel is a phrase I've been taught over the years, and we certainly had some flexibility.
Absolutely.
That evening, didn't we?
Yeah.
Goodness me, Kev, that was wonderful. Well, everybody, we've got just 2-3 minutes more. So if you've been dying to ask Kevin something, let us know in the comments. We know you're watching with us, and it's been great. I think there've been 30-40 people watching with us on average the whole time through, Kev. It's been great to be sharing with everyone, hasn't it? We hope you feel this hasn't been too like an in-joke that you guys are all watching, because I think Kev and I hope you're okay with me saying this, Kev, but we feel passionate about Salvation Army music making, right? And as we look back to the days of our youth when we hung around together, we can see that some of the building blocks of who we came to be were put down in those years, weren't they? Through music camps, through messing around with brass ensembles, writing music and arrangements, and when you look back through the journey of life, those were important days. So if you're a young person watching and you go to music camps, keep going to music camps. And if you've got an opportunity to do things like we've been talking about and be part of a brass ensemble and to go and take music ministry somewhere, do it, because it's going to make you it's going to develop you as a player and as a Christian. It's going to bring blessing and encouragement to others, and that's what this whole thing is all about. Kev, what do you think?
It is, yeah. I always kind of look back to my time at Chalk Farm as a huge kind of critical part in my life because, you know, my parents had left home. Well, my parents had left home. That doesn't make sense. As I'd left home because my parents had
Yeah.
gone to New Zealand, and
Yeah.
so then I was going to university, living full time at university. You know, and kind of my life was heading down in a kind of downwards trajectory for sure during that time. And you know, I wasn't going to the army for a few months there, and then with Mike Clack, who this guy who's right at the top of my list of people who I respect, he invited me to Chalk Farm, and it was that connection with the, you know, with the Chalk Farm. Now, was it a huge spiritual thing during that time? You know, possibly, but what I remember is the connection of keeping me connected there to that group of people. And if it wasn't from that core, I have no idea if I would still be in the Salvation Army today. So, you know, even though kind of during those years, those kind of turbulent years, it was that connection with the Salvation Army and especially the band that kept me going. And from that moment, then it's kind of the stepping stones to now, you know, let's be honest, actually becoming a Christian, you know, after that.
Yeah,
But it's like
definitely.
kind of keeping me connected there. So for me, it's it really, those times have kind of made me who I am, you know, today. And it's you know, I never take that lightly. And for me, listen, it was an incredible time for sure.
Well, Kev, we want to all wish you every blessing in your work as a DMD in California South. We send our love to Jackie and to the boys, and we hope this lockdown goes the best that it can
Yeah.
for you, for the Salvation Army, for the people of your community. And I think all of us here who are watching this video would want to say to you, thank you for your music ministry as well. You know, the Bromley 125 March has just been so engaging and wonderful to play. Another difficult one to play, but it's been a great march.
Right.
We've already spoken about They Shall Come from the East. Just Like One, I think, was another wonderful little arrangement that came off your computer at some point, as well as the hundreds and hundreds of arrangements you've done, you know, for various projects. And so, you know, if I may represent everybody, thank you
Thank you.
for giving your gifts to God and letting Him just breathe His work in and through you. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, everybody, that's it from me and Kev for tonight, and it's been great having you all join us. Thank you for your comments, thank you for your greetings, and as it's that particular time of the year now, I guess we can say season's greetings to you, and we hope,
That's right.
as this is the last one for the foreseeable future of these chats, we just pray God's blessing on your Christmas, and we hope it's a joyous time, but we also pray for a prosperous, beautiful and peaceful 2021. So
Amen.
God bless you all. Kevin, I'll give you a wave and say goodbye, and we hope we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, thanks.
Cheerio.